Please give it up for Ari. Maybe.
Yeah.
Possibly. Oh yeah, sorry about that. It'll pop up on the other screen first.
Okay. Before I start, I just want to say congratulations to all of us for completing our first year of freestyle. Very proud of this. We've been through a lot, so congratulations to all of us. So, my name is Ari Rivera, and I'm going to be presenting my explorations. And my whole goal was to draw better. I'm a design student, and typically in class I find that my illustrating and drawing skills are lacking, right? All my peers are doing a lot better than I am. So, for next year, I wanted to, get better at doing shadows and lighting and the shapes. So I decided to do a bunch of art studies, specifically on facial features such as eyes, noses, and mouths. So here's some of my sketches that I do. They're not super impressive. They're just little cartoons. And I have some kind of basis in art, but it's not at the level I want it to be, right? So I decided to do art studies. Now, what are art studies? Basically, it's when you take an object and you look at it and you draw it over and over and over again until you're comfortable with drawing it. And I found that there are two types of art studies. There's realistic art studies, where you look at real life and you try to recreate it perfectly. That's where you get like realism and stuff like that. And basically, the aim of that is to understand the fundamentals of the real world and how shadows work and the shapes of everything. And then there's kind of the opposite, which is a study of artists. And this one kind of works as taking inspiration from other artists and how they bend and distort reality. And you can take inspiration and techniques from other artists through studying them. So I did a lot of research, went through a lot of YouTube videos and a lot of articles. Here are my notes for eyes. You can read them if you want, but they're not really important. After I did my research, I went into the process phase. First thing I did was printed out some real-life pictures and put them in my sketchbook and annotated them. So I broke down the shadows, as you can see right there, it's like shadow breaking down, and then sketched some of the shapes, like a circle for the cornea. And this kind of just helped me get an idea of what I was going to do before I actually put it down on the paper. Now, then I did my actual eye sketches, and these are my sketches. As you can see, there's a very clear change in my skill level. These first two are really bad. What happened was I was discouraged, and I learned through doing this that doing art studies and just art in general is a lot of mental effort. I started this first one, and what happened was within 5 minutes of doing it, I realized, oh, this is bad. I'm going to cross it out and do the next one. So I put an X next to it, went to the next one, the same thing happened. So the problem was I wasn't pushing through, I wasn't following through with the piece. So I did the third one, and I put a little bit more effort into that one. And from there, it's just, it's like a steamroller. The next one was better, the next one was better, the next one was better. After doing my studies, with some experience, I created an infographic on the tips that I found most useful. So I'm just going to break them down for you. Understanding shadows and highlights is one of the first ones. This I find is extremely, extremely important. Recognizing how light works and being able to recreate it is vital in making like a realistic looking study. And it's a lot more complex than people think. There's a lot of little tiny things that you might not take into account, like dynamic range, where you want the darkest colors to be proportionate to your lightest colors. And people don't really see that, but it's important. Study of life, I already explained that. You want to be able to recreate what you see around you before you bend it and distort it as an artist. Patience is super, super important. You have to build the layers and really do a good job at making the best drawing that you can, and it takes patience. You can't do it quickly. Breaking things down is also important. Compartmentalizing things and seeing how they work as different parts will make it easier to bring them all together. For example, an eye is more than just an eye. It's the cornea, the iris, the pupil, the reflection off of the pupil, the eyelid, the eyelashes. There's a lot of different parts that come together to do that. And then lastly is to embrace the discomfort. Art is a mental exercise, and you're gonna feel uncomfortable doing it, but pushing through that is what creates that growth and what makes you a better artist. So here are my final sketches. The eyes over there, the noses, and then the mouths. These two aren't mine very clearly, you can see that. But yeah, I definitely grew a lot as an artist and learned a lot about myself and the principles of art and what it takes to draw. And I encourage all of you to do the same because I didn't think I could make drawings like this, but all it took was a little bit of determination and a little bit of patience. And yeah, so thank you.
Questions for Ari?
Did you end up doing a final piece where you put the eyes and the nose and the mouth all together?
I did not. I was just focusing on study so I could do the individual parts.
Which one do you think was most difficult to draw, eyes, nose, or mouth?
Definitely the mouth, because I feel like the mouth, the shading differences are really subtle, and there's a lot more variation in the light. So you have, like, over here you can see there's like really light spots, and then there are really, really dark spots, and so that made it really hard to do the mouth. Yeah. Ethan?
How much time do you think you just spent just drawing and practicing?
A lot of time. So the first sketches, the eyes, these four I should say, it's like 45 minutes for each one. So that took me a while, and then I think a lot about drawing is also confidence. And so doing these sketches kind of showed me I can do it. It's not as hard as I think it is. And so these came a lot quicker. I was just like, let's do this. I can do it, and then I did them. These are kind of rushed, you can kind of tell, but yeah, definitely the eyes, they take a long time, and the whole thing was a lot of just sitting down, working through it.
Give us a snap if you believe that doing more art just makes you better, if you just keep doing more and more art. Everybody snap if you believe that to be true. Thank you, Ari.
Thank you.